Welcome. In this video, I would like to do a tutorial about a fairly common yoga pose. And that pose is called Adho Mukha Svanasana, or more commonly known as downward facing dog. If you've taken an Ashtanga class, a Vinyasa class, or even a flow class, you've likely been taught this pose. Although it's a common pose, it does have some key difficulties that can make it more difficult, really, than necessary. So I'm going to cover a few key alignment basics in hopes to help you find more ease in your downward facing dog. One term I would like to define first is an anatomical landmark I'm going to call the index finger knuckle. And it's right here, this area of your inner hand where your pointer finger joins your palm. Come on to all fours. Spread your fingers wide. Turn your hands out until your pointer fingers are parallel to the long edge of your sticky mat. And have your hands wide enough so that the middle of your wrist aligns under your outer deltoid. Next, root the index finger knuckles down. More commonly, what happens, I know this was the case with me when I first started, is that the hands lift slightly. If that is the case, anchor your inner hands down more, and almost think of gluing your index finger knuckles into the floor. Tuck your toes under, lift your hips up, press back, downward facing dog. You can bend your knees if you're tighter in the hamstrings. More on that momentarily. Take a gaze forward and notice, are your inner hands lifted? If that's the case, root your index finger knuckles more. Now, as we go up the chain of the arms, I want you to externally rotate your upper arms. Now, you can see the opposite, more common misalignment, is upper arms internally rotated. You might even notice a little bend in my right elbow as I do this. To counter that, root your index finger knuckles, lift up just slightly, and externally rotate your upper arms. Another way you can think about this is as though your hands were on two dials and you're trying to turn them away from each other. Now, you're not actually going to move the hands, so it's an isometric contraction. So watch one more time. I'm going to come into the misalignment of upper arms internally rotating. Now watch the correct alignment, upper arms externally rotating. Another common misalignment is inner hands lifting. Root your index finger knuckles as you externally rotate your upper arms. That's a really good place to start. I consider the hands a primary foundation, primarily because we're not used to bearing weight on the hands. I'm going to show a side view here and another few alignment tweaks that might help you find more comfort in this pose. Once we've got the foundation of the hands and shoulders dialed in, we're going to take a look at the lower body. Now, if for you feel a lot of weight in your wrists, what might be happening is that you're sinking the weight of your body forward and kind of resting in your hands. What can be helpful for this is to root the heels of your hands down and try to press your hips back in space and elongate your spine. Now, that's easier said than done. A lot of times, if students have tighter hamstrings, what happens is that the hamstrings pull the pelvis into what's called a posterior tilt. And that can, again, shift weight forward and make this really difficult to hold on the upper body. So if this is the case for you, bend your knees, even a generous bend in your knees. See if you can get your pelvis to tilt the opposite way. This is called an anterior tilt of your pelvis. Don't worry about all the terminology if that's new to you. Once again, root your index finger knuckles, externally rotate your upper arms, and press your hips back in space. Now you can practice downward facing dog like this for as long as you like. If and when you feel a little bit more flexibility in your lower body, option to straighten your legs. Draw your navel in, press back. These are just a few of the tips that I like to teach in class. I hope you found this helpful.